Sergeant Be Safe says, this Thanksgiving, if you decide to have a drink, you can catch a ride or you can catch this ride. And that's your tip of the day to get you on your way. Make sure you have a safe and happy Thanksgiving.
Welcome to Black and Blue, the podcast that's just for you. We bring solutions to everyday problems. We are here to humanize the badge. By interviewing first responders and discussing their trainings, experiences, and publications. Black and Blue airs weekly at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tune in.
Let's go start the show. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome back. I hope everyone had a tremendous holiday. Those of you that celebrated, I am your host. This is Black and Blue, the podcast that's just for you. Your host, Coach Clee. Sometimes I go by Clee Tillman. Sometimes I go by Clark Tent, the man of many names. I'm your host and your motivational speaker, your empowerment coach, your author, and your favorite baker's favorite baker, here to entertain you and educate you with Black and Blue, where we go live with a first responder or a law enforcement official who is either a rookie, seasoned, or retiree. And when we go live, we talk about their trainings, experiences, and publications. And right now, we're recorded right now, and we have a tremendous lineup going ahead of us today, and I can't wait to bring them to you. This show's a little unorthodox. We've done a few shows like this before. They've been pretty popular. I like to recap a lot of specialized, memorable guests that have been on the show, and most of them have publications or have been in documentaries or have been in movies or so, and we're going to have a lot of fun doing it. We're going to give a shout out as well. Here, let me give you the rundown. First, we're going to give you a shout out to the voice of Captain Chaos and also introduce you to his Instagram page. A good friend of mine and an individual I've worked with for many, many years. We'll discuss him. We'll give you a heads up on the next show, what's up to come. We have a children's book. The author, New York City police detective who wrote a children's book, and we'll give you a recap on that because we did a reading on American Literacy Corporation on that children's book. So it will have a highlight on that. We'll also have, guess who's going to be here? We'll have Eric McCants. We'll have Steve Sweeting. We'll have Scott Medlin. We'll have Randy Snyder, Travis Yates, Ernie Stevens, Darrell Lowe, Chad Bruckner, Jason Harney's trailer. We've got an all-star lineup for you today, and I can't wait to jump into it, all right? We're streaming on 5 different platforms, ladies and gentlemen, 5 different platforms, so make sure you guys tag, like, and share on all of those. We're on 2 on Facebook, we're on 2 on YouTube, and 1 on LinkedIn, either under Coach Clee Tillman, Black and Blue, so many different names for so many different platforms. Make sure you guys tag, like, and share. Most times this is a live show, so we'll have interactions, we'll have questions, we'll give you the shout-outs that you're looking for, we'll put those on the screen. So even though this isn't live, still have your comments coming. Please make sure you tag, like, and share. Put your comments in the comment section, and we'll address those as soon as possible. This podcast, and Start and Be Safe, is sponsored by One Way Publishing. One Way Publishing, it's a book publishing company. You see 5 books behind me, and more books are on the way for this holiday season. I can't wait to officially announce those. Can't do it right now, but they're coming down the pipeline. Make sure you workwithclee.com is how you get your book published. One Way Publishing can turn your mere thought into a book that's bought, and we're very excited to bring that to you as well. All right, all-star lineup. We're going to start off, like I said, with the voice of Captain Chaos. He's got his own Instagram page. Make sure you check him out and tag, like, and share, because he does something that's not law enforcement related, but food related. If you guys are foodies, you guys want to check that out. He's also the voice of Captain Chaos, and I'm going to bring him to the stage without further ado. Here he is, Ben Gaynor.
Is absolutely right. I'm just going to stay here and get big.
Wow. Which
probably can't happen.
I know you're surprised too. I know.
Yeah, I know. That's like the studio, man.
Her name is assaulted by Brittany.
And I thought it would be a great chance to showcase my superhero skills.
Thank you for joining us, Sergeant Be Safe and Captain Chaos. We've been discussing school safety and the importance of education.
And remember, kids, safety doesn't have to be boring. We can make it fun and exciting.
Running can lead to accidents.
But what if we could run safely, like superheroes? That would be awesome.
Thank you for emphasizing the importance of safety, Sergeant Be Safe and Captain Chaos. Now, let's talk about the importance of education.
Education is its own superpower, Maya. It opens the door to endless possibilities.
And with knowledge, you can conquer any challenge that comes your way. And remember, even superheroes never stop learning. We're always discovering new things.
Thank you, Sergeant Be Safe and Captain Chaos, for reminding us of the importance of safety and education.
It's our pleasure, Mrs. Gaynor. And remember, kids, stay safe, keep learning, and you too will be unstoppable.
And don't forget to have a little fun along the way.
You know, Captain, it's getting colder out here, and the holidays are quickly approaching us.
Yeah, it's that time of year, my friend. You know, the time we start responding to weird calls.
They say it's cuffing season, baby. You ain't good enough.
True. I almost forgot, Captain Chaos. You're absolutely right. Cuffing season is now upon us. You guys be safe out there.
Hey. I just want to take another look at you.
Farm skirt steak quesadillas. Start by marinating that steak with that Pirate's Gold marinade. We're going to get these on the birch barrel, cook hot and fast. While that steak's resting, we're going to grill up some onions and peppers. Chop up that skirt steak. We're going to add it to the flour tortilla. Add those onions and peppers. Sprinkle on some cheese. We're going to put this directly on the cast iron on the birch barrel. Once it's all crisped up, it's time to cut into this thing. Add a little avocado crema on top, and this thing was unbelievable, guys. Give it a shot. Let me know what you think. When I'm coming off night shift, these are my go-to iced vanilla lattes. We're going to grind those beans. From there, we're going to get our pumps of vanilla syrup. We're going to do a double shot of espresso because we have to. Pour that espresso and syrup over ice. You're going to add your milk. Then we're going to get bougie, add that soft whipped topping. Add that sprinkle of cinnamon on top, and it's time to enjoy. Cheers to y'all who have that weekend off, or don't.
And there you have it, Ben Gaynor, his IG page, the Q Dad. He's been on the former podcast that I had that was called The Lab. You got to see those edits come out. When the light fell on me twice, that was a lot of fun. He was on there then. Then you got to see his voiceovers and the Sergeant Be Safe cartoons. Then you got to see a few of his highlights from his Instagram page and the food that he prepares. So check him out. He's a huge asset to the show, and I appreciate him. Want to give him the holiday shout out that he deserves. This is the holiday highlight shout out because we're thankful. This is airing on Black Friday, so you guys be safe out there. You shoppers be safe. You drivers be safe. This is the holiday season where a lot of alcoholic crimes have been already been occurring and still occur. So you guys be safe. We talk about ride sharing. We talk about drinks giving. We talk about carpooling, designated drivers, so many different things. Wonderful, different ways of not getting into legal trouble for the holiday season and still being safe and having fun. All right, we're going to transition. We're going a few years back. Many of you may remember him, Eric McCants. He's all over LinkedIn doing wonderful things, motivating law enforcement officers, weightlifting, always coming up with good humorous memes to put up there. He's a great asset to this community, and I was pleased to get him on the show. And here's a highlight of when he was on the show. You guys, ladies and gentlemen, please enjoy. Decent enough battle against drugs.
Well, I feel in my county we're doing a good job. Like I said, you're not going to stop it, but we're preventing people from getting the drugs and getting to them and hurting them. But like I say, a lot of times people don't know they're into drugs. One of the biggest problems we're facing now is that people are making pills, but they're putting fentanyl in the methamphetamine, these fresh pills and heroin stuff. And people think they're getting the regular drug that they're normally used to, but it's laced with fentanyl, then they overdose. So it's just one of those hard problems that we're facing. People get on drugs for one reason or other. And like I tell people, we're not here to target the users. We want to get the person that's distributing and making money off it and profiting off it. But it's all a bigger picture. But like I say, you think you might stop the kingpin, but it's somebody above them that's doing way more. So it's a never-ending game. But like I say, if you could deter one or two people from using drugs or from committing that crime to get drugs, whatever like that, I feel like we've done our job.
Being a supervisor in the narcotics division, what was it like actually working your way up to that when you were working patrol? Was that something that you knew that you wanted to do, or did you kind of fall into that niche?
Well, like I said, when I started at my agency, which is Burke County Sheriff's Department about 5 years ago, the division to be on was a crime suppression team, and basically it was a proactive patrol unit. So I started off on road patrol, but like I tell everybody, if you want to become better at something, you learn from them. So I started to do ride-alongs with them. I started to become a student of the game. Just anytime they need somebody to do anything, I'll do the paperwork, I'll take them to jail, whatever they needed to learn the process of how they did things. And eventually, in my first year, I was able to ask to come over to the crime suppression team. And honestly, that was my best division, I would say. We just did a lot going on. Like I said, you had the car chase, you had the foot chase, you had the narcotics, you found the guns, you had the people that had warrants and stuff like that. So I enjoyed that a lot. But one of the biggest persons that's influenced my career was my sheriff. I had already had my bachelor's degree. He was like, well, since you got your bachelor's degree, you probably should go ahead and try to get your master's degree. He said, you don't want to be humping calls and doing that your whole career. You know, I'm young. I'm like, I could be running good in my whole year, but he said, you just never know. So I went ahead and got my master's. He said, well, you need to get some supervision under you just so you can learn how to, lead people and how to, handle different situations that arise from your troops. So at that time, he told me to go ahead and put in and apply for a sergeant position. So I became a sergeant on night shift patrol. I enjoyed that too. Like I say, you learn a lot by helping others do the job they need to do. So you'll learn your faults, and then you'll learn other faults and how to come together better to make a better difference. So I enjoyed that. And then he was like, well, you need some investigative experience because he knows eventually I wanted to try to become a special agent. Okay. So he said, man, go ahead and apply for that. I applied for the narcotics position. I ended up getting it, and I've been over here ever since. Yeah, well, one of the biggest things is going to be pay. You got to make sure you pay people. Like I say, we have one of the thankless jobs. Seeing how people bash us in the media all the time, and people think I can make more money doing something else. Why I want to become a law enforcement officer. So that's why people always say it's not made for everybody. But pay is going to be another big thing. And make sure, like I say, you got to get out there in the community and let people know that, hey, we're not just robots. We're actual real people. We have life. We come from the same place that y'all come from, but we have the job that we enjoy. So you got to be able to have a person that can reach these type of people, that can build that rapport, that knows how to talk to people, and make them feel comfortable enough to even come along and just share the joy of being a law enforcement officer. That's why I believe ride-alongs is a big thing, just so they can get a taste of what's going on. Because a lot of people see cops, they see live PD and stuff, and they think we're all car chasing and all that stuff. But even after that car chase, you're going to be in that room doing paperwork for 2 or 3 hours. So you got to understand that all comes with it. So it's kind of going to be kind of a challenge. Like I say, just right now, it's a bad time for law enforcement. Just because of the way media depicts us and some of the incidents that have happened. Like I say, sometimes law enforcement is wrong. So it's kind of hard for us right now, but you still got to keep trying at it. You got to be up on social media like a lot of people are trying to do it. I know a lot of the older officers, they kind of disagree with the TikTok videos and the Facebook videos of law enforcement officers. But I say, this new generation, that's how they relate. They understand with things like that. So you got to be able to change with the times and just try to reach them. I would tell them they would like a diverse portfolio because you never know who you're going to encounter. Like you say, you want some people from both ends of the spectrum. College degree is good, but like I say, it's not needed in law enforcement. Like I say, just because you have a college degree don't mean you're going to be a better law enforcement officer. It's good to have. I know great officers that have it. They have officers that have it. They're not great officers. Some people are coming here with GED and they'll be the best officers you know, so that's not important. Military is always good, but like I say, teach you how to present yourself, you know how to be a law enforcement, know how to take commands from people, you know how to handle a job, see it through. So just having that different life experience is going to help you be a law enforcement officer. And that's why I tell people the good thing about law enforcement officers is not just one set thing. You're not just going to be on patrol. You can go to traffic. You can do investigations. And investigations, you got murders. You got, child crimes. You got sex crimes. You got white collar crimes, all that stuff, narcotics. So that's that's one of the good things about law enforcement, that you can go into so many different aspects of it. And so you won't just be at the same part of the job your whole career. Like I say, some people like patrol. Some people want to be on patrol for 20, 30 years. Other people have different aspects of or aspirations of going to be in a narcotics division or being on the SWAT team. So you can work towards those things once you come to law enforcement. So you won't just be seeing the same thing every day. And that's what's so great about law enforcement. No day's going to be alike. No matter where you work, something different is going to happen every day.
And there you have it, Eric McCants. Shout out to you on this holiday highlights day. Make sure you check his page out. He's doing wonderful things, tremendous things in this community. I appreciate him, and I appreciate him coming on the show. As you saw, that was the old background set, the old set that was going on. We're live and updated. We got the black and blue sign going on. We got the strobe lights behind us. Got the brick wall behind us. A lot of good things, and we're still trucking along. We got many things coming. Another guy, this next guy that we have coming on here. I had a lot of fun interviewing him. Had a lot of fun reading his book. If you haven't gotten it already, I got mine, Street Stoic by Sergeant Steve Sweeting. And he talks about stoicism. He talks about being relentless. He jogs 3 miles every day, no matter what the conditions are. Rain, snow, sleet, or hail, he's always going to be out there and prevail. And let's check out his highlight clip. He was not in the lab. That was the old entrance. He was on here, and he talked about that. And we're going to have a lot of fun. Stand by. Here he comes, live and direct.
That out. If you haven't got your copy, I got mine on Amazon. Make sure you guys get your copy there too.
When everybody who could leave law enforcement did leave law enforcement, and our agency, we had a big brain drain. We had a lot of people just up and leave. Staffing went into the gutter and crime went through the roof. And I found myself, it's like, oh great, I'm a sergeant now, I'm supervising, and yeah, you made it. And my entire team probably had 1 year of combined experience.
Wow.
It was just, and they were dealing with just crime to a new level and staffing to new lows. And I was like, how do we get through this? How do I, it wasn't a question of like, are we going to stick to it? It was more of like, how do we handle this? And I had read some stoicism at that point and really dove into it a little more and started practicing very heavily, and said to myself, like, oh, I bet you there's plenty of, once you read some of the Stoics and the Marcus Aurelius and all that, it probably just, you read some of the Marcus Aurelius quotes. I'm sure you had the same assumption I did, that like, oh, somebody's already written a book for police. This is perfect for cops, right? Yeah. So I went to look for that book, and there was one other book written by a man named Bill Murrow, and he wrote a book called The Stoic Cop, and his book was good. It was more autobiographical, and it got me started, but I realized there was nothing else out there like a handbook for cops, how to apply this philosophy. So at that point, after getting all the benefits I got out of it, I just said, all right, this is what I'm doing. I guess I have the responsibility now to share it out with other people. The book was the second thing I did. The first thing I did was make streetstoic.com, that website, and I put all the resources out there for free.
Okay.
Yes, the book is for sale on Amazon, but it's more important to me that cops get this info. Any law enforcement, it's on there absolutely free. You don't have to sign up. I don't want your information. I'm not selling anything. It's there. Use it. If you don't get it from me, there's links to other people. Get it from them. I don't care. Do what you got to do. Get this. Use it. It's going to help you. So going back to, some books that are 2,300 years old and have been, this has been tried, but it worked on, like George Washington used this. Thomas Jefferson uses. Martin Luther King Jr. Would give stoic advice to his followers during the civil rights movement. Like every time you see adversity or hardship or somebody fighting the good fight against long odds, stoicism just kind of pops up like, oh, here I am. It's crazy. General James Mathis, the former Marine Corps commandant, when he would go into Iraq, he had a copy of Marcus Aurelius' Meditations right there. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Teddy Roosevelt, Nick Saban, Tom Brady, Antonio Brown, and then people you wouldn't expect, like T-Pain, all practicing Stoics. They've all found something in it that helps them out. It's really crazy, when you look into it and you see that, Mark Cuban and Jeff Bezos, they also practice those. Some of the richest people you've ever heard of, they're using this. And you got to say, okay, how come they're taking this 2,300-year-old thing that I've never heard of, and they're putting it to work? How come nobody's teaching us about it? How come nobody's telling the cops? This thing needed to happen so that I could become the person that I need to be.
Right.
And you don't become the person you need to be, through rainbows and sunshine and puppies and happy days, right? I didn't become a strong guy or somebody who's resilient because everything went great. Some bad things had to go into the mix for me to develop into the person who can handle life situations and be the person that can go out there and save lives and teach other people how to help and serve their communities. So a lot of negative things are necessary if you look at it in those terms. And that's how you can be truly resilient. That's how, if you can look at things as, all right, how does this help me? How does this benefit the world? How does this benefit Steve or Clee? Then all of a sudden, there's nothing bad. And that's pretty powerful.
Reminds me of the analogy of, gold doesn't become refined gold until it's burned. It has to go through the purifying process. It has to go through that fire. No one wants to get burnt through the fire, but the fire is necessary to come out shining like pure gold.
And that was Sergeant Steve Sweeting. Make sure you guys check him out. His book is available on Amazon, as with all the other authors that will be showcased on here on this highlight platform. Also, the full clip is on the YouTube, LinkedIn, all the platforms that I mentioned before. Make sure you guys check out the full clips. These are just highlighted clips. It's good information shared for law enforcement, whether you're seasoned, rookie, retiree. You learn a lot just from coming on this platform and seeing different kinds of interviewing skills, just different kinds of experiences, different kinds of publications. And we move on to the guy who is on YouTube with the 10 code mindset, Scott Medlin. Scott Medlin also has his book, 101 Health Tips for Police Officers, and he has a couple other books out there that are available on Amazon as well. He was on the show not too long ago. He's actually going to be featured in a documentary that's going to be coming out later on this month, but we'll talk about that a little later. Make sure you check him out. Make sure you subscribe to his YouTube page. Make sure you check out his books, and let's listen to what he has to say right here.
Back when I was a kid, I remember there were two incidents where I lived in a small neighborhood where everyone knew each other. Well, one day I was out in the garage waiting on my mom to come take my brothers and I somewhere, and we saw a guy going door to door, and we knew he didn't live in the neighborhood, and he was getting really up close to the doors and then looking in windows. I mean, I was just a little kid. It just didn't feel right, and I pointed him out to my mom, and she called my dad, and she said, what should I do? And he said, well, call the police. And I'll just never forget that feeling of, I want the police to come help protect me and my mom. We left, so I don't know what happened, but I'll just never forget that feeling. And I kind of planted the seed to, I want the police to protect me. And then when I was 15, I was in high school sophomore year, and I went to a career fair, having no idea what I wanted to do at 15. I spoke to the police recruiter at the hometown police department, and then he got my interest going. And then at 17, I did my first ride along. I was sold, but I went into the Marines prior to law enforcement, and went 2 tours in Iraq. And then when I got out of the Marines and college, that's when I went into law enforcement and was sworn from 2007 to 2022, but encountered some struggles I never thought would happen to me. I was listening sometimes, but at least I'll be able to present encouragement or tips and techniques for job performance and safety and stuff like that. So it was just a matter of taking knowledge, learned experiences I went through, and just trying to help out whoever needs encouragement or is looking for guidance. Because a lot of, like on my YouTube channel, a lot of the audience is those interested in getting into law enforcement or those that are new to it.
Yeah, I saw you give a few tips on wanting to get into law enforcement, or if you're in the academy, what to expect. I know you wrote a book on things like that as well. Is that your audience? Is that who you're gearing your information towards, or is it wide open for first responders all the way in general?
Oh, definitely wide open for first responders in general. There's a lot of stuff covered on the YouTube channel. I mean, all the way from what's it like to be a police officer to actual ways to deal with stress. I cover a wide variety of topics, and I was pretty blessed the other day. I got notified that my channel has gotten over 700,000 views, so we're getting close to 1 million. It's pretty exciting, but thank you. But the podcast, I bring on a lot of good guests that can push people past their comfort zone on certain things when it comes to taking care of ourselves and pushing back against the threat we have, with that being of suicide and mental health illnesses and issues that law enforcement can face. I mean, it's a mission I'm on, and I'm not stopping, that's for sure, because there's some people out there, they might not admit it, they might not talk about it, but they need encouragement, and 10 Code Mindset, give all I can to provide just that encouragement and knowledge or strength to own up and take responsibility and take action. You are very strong for doing that, and you can do it. And that's what I say. Just start with that simple step. That, like, just start with something, and then you can continuously show up for yourself. Yeah, I mean, heck, one time it took me up to 30 days to change the way I was thinking, but I just kept showing up. You can do it. It is possible, and it is worth every bit of effort.
Yeah. Good explanation. Thank you.
It will create lasting pleasure in life. I'm not saying like hard times won't happen, but just keep showing up for you each and every day, and you can show up that much better for others. It's possible. I'm here as proof of it, and don't give up.
Good advice. Thank you.
Who was the cameraman on that one? I don't know. That one was a little off at the end. However, that information is valuable. Thank you, Scott. Shout out to you for coming on the platform. We're looking forward to watching you thrive. Looking forward to seeing you in this upcoming documentary where he's being vulnerable and explaining his experiences that got him into or situations or got him into where he's at right now. I'll put it that way because you guys got to check out the documentary. But we're going to move on. Sergeant Be Safe is in the lab. Yes, Sergeant Be Safe has something to say about this, the holiday that just passed and this upcoming holiday season along with this week. Stand by.
This holiday season is when DUIs and alcohol-related crimes are at their highest. But you can still have fun and be very safe this holiday season. So please, be responsible. Let's go see if treacherous Tony is going to make good decisions.
Drinksgiving. This is going to be fun. Ladies, how are you doing today? I have one too many. I don't feel so good. I gotta get out of here.
So, Tony thinks he's gonna leave and drive away. Little does he know I'm on patrol nearby.
Oh, man.
Tony, you can barely walk. Look, you can either catch a ride or you can catch this ride.
Hey, bro. I need a ride.
Ride sharing, carpooling, or designated driver, looks like he made the right decision. Sergeant Be Safe wants you to have a safe and happy holiday. So remember, that's your tip of the day to get you on your way.
And there you have it. Sergeant Be Safe is the coolest. You guys already know that. Did you know Sergeant Be Safe has his own YouTube channel? Sergeant Be Safe has over 50 videos. I don't know the exact number on his YouTube channel with all these highlights from holidays, just from safety tips, fun examples of just life. Go to YouTube, subscribe to his channel. It's Sergeant SGT B Safe, SAFE. Sergeant Be Safe, and get to enjoy him and give me your comments, suggestions for further videos. Like I said, we saw Ben Gaynor, Captain Chaos. We got Rob You Blind. We got Chance Wilder, Treacherous Tony. Megan's on there. Ava. Captain Chaos has his K9 Kraken. So many different characters are on there, more than I can remember, and I'm the creator of Sergeant Be Safe, and I'm forgetting about some of the characters. Life lessons are on there. They're good to go. Make sure you guys check that out. But we're going to transition now. We're going to talk about, yes, we had him on the show twice. Once we had him on for Cyber Creeps, and then we had him on for Bloodline, Evil's Legacy. Randall Snyder is coming on here. He gave a bunch of wonderful tips about how to deal with our youth, how to deal with cyber crimes, how to keep our children safe. His experiences are valuable for all of us. His books are available on Amazon. These are just 2 of them. I believe he has 3 of them out there. And he's been on the show twice. So here's 2 clips, one with the old setup and one with the new setup on tips and highlights on what he discussed when he was here in the studio, well, virtually, of course. But let's check him out.
We got right here Randy Snyder and his book Cyber Creeps, and I see I got the website scrolling below. I also have it in the comments section. What are some red flags or things that you've seen that you can tip off to some of our parents?
One of the biggest things is if they're talking about friends and they're mentioning friends that you don't know, that aren't somebody that you would recognize from their school. Most children would admit that about 50% of their connections on social media, they don't have any idea who that person is. And so not knowing who that person is behind the keyboard leads them to be in a pretty awkward position, and it causes them to end up in a very dangerous position. When I was working internet crimes, a lot of what I did was undercover work, and I would go online as a teenage kid, put myself out there so that the predators would want to come after me instead of an actual child. And it was no problem at all for me to go into a children's chat room, a chat room designed for 13 to 16-year-olds, and have 40-year-old guys hitting on me within 5 or 6 minutes. The average it takes for a predator online to solicit nudes from a child and to obtain nudes from a child is about 30 minutes. And so it really, unfortunately, is something that parents need to be aware of. First of all, the phone is not their phone. It's your phone. You just allow them to use it. And as long as you allow them to use it, you should have the right to go in at any time and view what they're viewing, see what they're doing, read through their messages. It's not an invasion of privacy. It's you doing your parental right to take care of them and to make sure that they're not being groomed. If you're allowing them into social media, 70% of social media or 70% of groomers who are online looking for kids are on social media. They're on Snapchat, they're on Instagram, they're on Discord, which is a big gaming platform. They're going into the games. If kids are on it, like Roblox, like Fortnite, like any of those, they're going to go on there and they're going to find the kids in those locations. And so parents need to make sure that they're watching what their kids are doing. If kids are starting to have items that, especially expensive items, that you didn't buy them, you need to question. That's a red flag. A lot of these groomers now are sending gift cards, they're sending money, they're providing physical objects as an encouragement to get that first couple of sexualized images that they can then use for extortion purposes later. When I was working undercover, I had a guy send me an iPhone 5 because my undercover persona, my phone was broken, so I couldn't, send him any nudes. And so he mailed me an iPhone 5 so that I would be able to give him the gratification that he wanted. To get it, he got handcuffs instead, but they're not above doing that. And so parents need to be aware of what kinds of things are your kids doing, what are they on, what are they looking at, and what can be done to try and prevent them from going into harmful spaces where the risk is really even greater.
Right. This is one specific family in the the lineage that was passed down from the patriarch of the family all the way down to currently, I guess you would say, for lack of a better
one of the investigators that was the primary investigator on most of those was a good friend of mine. We worked together very closely, working child crimes. She kind of took me under her wing when I first went into child crimes to teach me what to do. We then worked with the Arizona Child Abduction Response Team together. We helped kind of get the Arizona Child Abduction Response Team up and going, and we're the Pinal County folks for that. And she did such an amazing job that when she retired, it was a huge loss to our agency. And knowing what some of those cases were that really impacted her over the years, finding that so many of those impactful cases all came from the same bloodline, from the same family, was just, like you said, you can't make that stuff up. I couldn't write fiction as that's as good as what's out there. And so I had a sergeant that reminded me of the case and said, man, this is such a weird case. This is the kind of thing that people need to know about, because intergenerational violence is very common. It's very prevalent. And to see how it bleeds over from generation to generation and keeps compounding, people really need to be aware of it to try and stop it. And so while this is a really extreme version of it, there's 1,000 different stories out there of violence within the family going generation to generation, and we need to find ways to try and stop that.
Adult who's in their life that they know personally, correct?
That's correct. And what we find is that because they have that closeness with the child, or if they're not an immediate family member, at least with the child's family, it makes it that much easier for them to perpetrate, because they have that trust there, they have that bond already there. But we also know that the impact to the victim is that much more significant. When you have somebody that's in that position of trust and is oftentimes a loved one, a family member, it makes it very difficult for that child to want to disclose. It makes it very difficult for that child to understand why the victimization is happening, and it impacts them at so much deeper a psychological level that we have to look at what kinds of therapies might be available to help that child after they've been rescued. Otherwise, it just continues the next cycle and the next cycle.
How can we help raise awareness, like you stated, and like what's in the book?
Well, the first thing I think that we need to do is start by believing. Children don't make these things up. Very rarely do we find that there is a false allegation by a child of any sort of sexual misconduct, because children just don't think that way. It's not until their late teens when you have a young child that's making these sorts of disclosures, the first thing that you need to do is believe them. And while that's really hard to do, especially if disclosure is to mom and dad's the suspect, the last thing mom wants to do is think that her spouse is doing this. But believe it at least long enough to let an investigation get started. At least let's look into it, because oftentimes it is a parent or a step parent or a close family member that is the perpetrator. And if we don't believe the child, the first thing that we're doing is calling them a liar. what we know is that most times there's a grooming behavior that begins for that perpetrator to make the victim feel come. A lot of times what they'll use as part of that grooming behavior is, well, you can't tell anybody because nobody would believe you, or you can't tell anybody because you don't want daddy to go to prison, or think of how this would impact the family. Think of how you wouldn't be able to have the toys that you have, or, and they highlight the financial aspect, the emotional aspect of what would happen if this child discloses, and all that does is convince the child that they shouldn't disclose, they can't disclose. And when they bring in that factor of, and nobody's going to believe you because I'm your dad, I'm an adult, or I'm a well-known person within the community, whatever the case, and that kid discloses and it does get blown off, they've just proven the perpetrator right. And so the kid is going to be even less likely to disclose in the future. And like you said, a number of the victims throughout Bloodline, they attempted to make disclosures. They attempted to get somebody to be on their side, and the adults just didn't want to believe it. They didn't want to think that their family member could be perpetrating such a heinous crime. And they unfortunately let it just slip away.
Randy Snyder, ladies and gentlemen, those two clips, those two interviews were dynamic. I highly recommend checking out both of those shows on the channel, either whatever platform that you view the show on. Cyber Creeps and Bloodlines, wonderful tips. Not only that, but we also talked about the Sound of Freedom. We discussed that during the interview too. He answered many questions. He gave wonderful tips and solutions for cyber internet crimes and just keeping our children safe. All right. Thank you guys for checking that one out. We're going to transition on to another guy I had a lot of fun interviewing here. He's a headliner here. He does trainings throughout the nation. He's been in law enforcement for over 30 years. He wrote this book, The Courageous Police Leader, A Survival Guide for Combating Cowards, Chaos, and Lies. Dr. Travis Yates. Can you see that? I know there's a glare. He was on the show as well not too long ago. Make sure you check his show out. And here's his clip. We had a lot of fun with him, and he gives a lot of inspirational and highlighting information.
I did a ride along, and everybody that are listening understands what that is, and I'll never forget it. Like, it was just one of these perfect ride alongs, right, where all the stars aligned and everything happened. I remember looking over at the guy going, do they pay you for this? And he's like, yeah, they pay us. Every 2 weeks a check drops. I said, this is what I'm going to do. And I changed my degree in college, totally changed the trajectory of my life. I wouldn't be here today without that ride along. And, I applied everywhere. I ended up getting hired in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I wasn't from Tulsa, didn't know a soul, and just ended up here at 21 years old, patrolling downtown Tulsa. Pretty surreal and pretty crazy, and really didn't know anybody. All I knew is what I sort of grew up with, Clee. My dad just worked hard and tried to treat people right. And I blinked, and I rose through the ranks to the rank of major or commander. There were 8 commanders. If people were listening to different departments, our department was structured into the ranks above major were chief. So it was, I rose up and I ran a division. I was at that rank for about 10 years. Okay. And just recently retired for 30 years in July, and just, really had a dream career. Like any job, you have ups and downs, but I got an opportunity to do a lot of neat stuff on the department. And then at some point, about 23 years ago, people started calling me and wanted me to come train them. I didn't even know that was a thing. I'm like, why would I come train you? I'm busy training my department. I kind of cut my teeth doing EVOC training, law enforcement driver training. I went through that in the academy, and I did the same thing. I'm like, do they pay you for this? And they're like, yeah. I said, that's what I want to do. So I ran that unit for about 10 years in Tulsa. Did a lot of cool things. I launched Below 100 back in the day. Some people are familiar with that. And we did a program. We kind of started Below 100 in Tulsa before it became national. We reduced our collisions quite a bit. And one thing led to another. And to this day, I still get phone calls for people to come train people. And I tell people that I didn't even know that was a business or a thing. I didn't have a website till 3 or 4 years ago. The phone would ring and I would go. But man, it's been a blessing, just a huge blessing. I've been in 47 states, 3 countries, met thousands and thousands of police officers. I was just in Arizona last week. And just I meet some of the greatest men and women out there, and it's just such an honor to do. There's a reason why we have a recruiting problem. There's a reason why we have a retention problem. It's all comes down to leadership. I don't blame activists. I don't blame social justice warriors. I don't blame the media.
It comes from police leaders to actually take a stand and tell the truth or put that information out there. Why do you think that is?
There's a playbook in leadership and law enforcement, Coach, and nobody really talks about it, but here's the playbook. Don't do a whole lot. Don't upset the apple cart. Don't be too out there on the edge. Don't tell the complete truth. Whatever the community activists or leaders, and that's not generally speaking for the entire community, but whoever the talking heads in that community are that are going to city council, they're in the media, just kind of go along with them, go with the flow, keep them happy. And those chiefs can be fairly successful. Like we've seen them hop from one department to the other. I mean, consent decrees are the prime example. Nobody can give you one positive thing that happens here, but you see these chiefs talk great about them, and they go from one consent decree city to the other, and everyone's getting paid, right? And so they're worried about keeping their job, they're worried about their pension, they're worried about all this stuff, and they're afraid that if they stand up, that they're going to be persecuted. And they may well be persecuted, but they're going to have to sleep at night. They're going to have to look at their wife and children or husband and children in the eye and be a stand-up person. So I think our human nature, Coach, is me, myself, and I. If you don't believe me, look at a 2-year-old. They're about me, myself, and I. These kids come out of the womb kicking and screaming, right? So our nature by God is me, myself, and I. And then when it gets tough, we just want to curl up and we don't even want to fight. We're going to protect ourselves at all costs. So that's really what you're seeing. You're seeing leaders that don't really know what to do. It's going to be difficult to do the right thing. So they just go, I'm going to protect myself, my police department, and my officers be damned. And so we've got to change the tide, because I would just ask people to disagree with me about this. How's that working out for us? There has been more changes to a negative in law enforcement in the last 10 years than their entire history, without one case law changing. No case law, no judge, no court has told us to do some of this stuff, but sometimes we just do it because we get told to do it because we're worried about ourselves and we think it's going to help us, but what it's doing, and oftentimes it's really destroying a great profession. There's a reason why we have a recruiting problem. There's a reason why we have a retention problem. It all comes down to leadership. I don't blame activists. I don't blame social justice warriors. I don't blame the media. No. I blame us. Our leadership should be able to defend ourselves, hold us accountable when we need to be held accountable, but then defend us when we're right. And then we would know we would be supportive, because that's the number one reason cops leave. It's not money and benefits. I laugh at the signing bonuses because these people, we actually think that's going to help. No. If you make the job impossible, Coach, good luck finding somebody to do it. And so we need to turn that around. It starts with just leadership. Just lead. Do the right thing. In fact, just listen to that advice my dad gave me. Treat others the way you want to be treated. And I think it's really that simple, but we sometimes have a hard time doing it. Yeah, and leadership goes all the way down to the line officer. We sometimes think rank matters. Now, just because you take your clothes to the dry cleaners and get a strap sewn on, that means nothing, right? So it goes down to every officer. I had the blessing that when I broke out on my own, Coach, I worked with a guy by the name of Walt Milner. Now, nobody here listening will have heard of Walt Milner. You may have heard of the last name Milner because they've done some documentaries on it. Walt Milner was an African-American officer, one of the first African-Americans in some of our special units. He was basically my age when I started. He was in his 50s, and he purposely worked nights so he could mentor us younger officers. He didn't have to. He could have day shift weekends off. That you would have never known about talking to him, but his young daughter at the age of 7 was one of the Girl Scout murderers here in Oklahoma. There's a lot of documentaries out there on it. She was brutally killed, and it destroyed Walt, obviously, destroyed his personal life, destroyed him as a person, but you never know it. He knew the importance of leadership. And when I talked about what my dad said, that was reiterated by being around Walt. The greatest leader, one of the greatest leaders I've ever been around, the guy didn't have any rank. And there is no telling the legacy he left, because it wasn't just me that he impacted. It was hundreds and hundreds of other people, and just an incredible guy. In fact, Walt retired at about 57 years old, and tragically, as we hear, he had a massive heart attack a few months later. We hear that too much in this profession. Yeah. But I dare say I wouldn't be sitting here today. I wouldn't be who I am as a father, as a man, as a police officer without Walt Milner. So if Walt Milner can do it with no rank, no status, no nothing, just a street cop, everybody listening could be like Walt, could do just the same thing. And I think we think in this profession, because we have this military hierarchy system, that it's not me, it's them. let's just complain and let's just stay in our lane, because that me, myself, and I is not just the chief. It goes all the way down. I say that if we had a handful of Coach Cleese or a handful of Walt Milners or a few more Travises, not too many because it would be too crazy. We had a few more of these people out there, man, it would change everything. That's how we change the profession for the better, Coach.
And you got to admit that was electrifying, and his entire interview was a lot of fun to do. It was very informative. You got to check that out. It's on YouTube, it's on Facebook, it's on LinkedIn. Run his name, Run Black and Blue. You'll find it. Make sure you check his book out. Police Leadership, The Courageous Police Leader. It's on. I got mine on Amazon. You too can get yours there too. All right. So stand by. We will be continuing on with the show. We will be moving on to our next guest, Ernie Stevens. Many of you may have seen him on the HBO documentary Crisis Cops. He was in here on the platform. He gave a dynamic interview. He was a lot of fun to interview. It was a lot of fun to watch the documentary as well. He talked about that. He talked about his experiences. He's also got 30 years in the law enforcement arena. Sorry, fumbling over my words. With experiences and trainings, and he talks about how he got to the halfway point and kind of didn't know where he was going until he started getting into mental health, and that catapulted him to the secondary part of his career and what he's doing now. So let's listen to his highlighted clip and learn from him and have a lot of fun. Here we go.
You using this platform to elevate those voices that can move the needle and continue to change the culture. So I love what you're doing here. When you reached out, it was a complete honor, a super easy yes to spend time with you and your listeners tonight. So I want to have a good time, make this very interactive. My name is Ernie Stevens. I'm from San Antonio, Texas. My law enforcement career really spans almost 30 years, 28 years with the San Antonio Police Department. I guess the thing that I'm most proud of my time with the San Antonio Police Department was getting the opportunity to form a mental health unit, which came to fruition back in 2008. Now, prior to that, I'd been to the training in 2003, and that's a whole nother story because I didn't even want to go to the training. But I spent 28 years there, retired in 2021, and then joined the Council State Government's Justice Center as the Deputy Director for Law Enforcement. So now I get to help agencies all across the United States set up co-responder units, anything really that touches law enforcement at all that has Department of Justice dollars attached to it in a grant, we get the honor and the opportunity to help those agencies out. I want to take this training that we got from Houston, and I want to train every single officer at San Antonio. I want to form a mental health unit. Like, I had all these grandiose ideas of what I wanted to do because of this one lady's story. And she truly gets all the credit. Like, people are like, oh yeah, Ernie, you were one of the first ones. I'm like, but it wasn't me. Like, it was her. You got to give the credit where the credit belongs. And that was to a member of the community. And Coach, I needed that class at that time in my life because after 15 years, I started to forget why I truly joined the police department. Like, was I truly there to help people like I said I was at the beginning? Because now I'm attached to a unit where you get accolades every time you find a gun or find the dope, and then it's like a bloodbath, and you go out there and you look for more and more, and what you do is you distance yourself from the community, especially when they're sending you into marginalized parts of the community where crime is higher. And instead of helping the community, I'm now driving a wedge between law enforcement and community. So that class, not only did it save my life, but it really did saved my career. Because it taught me that this type of training is about human connection. And I had forgotten about that, to be honest with you. Because you're walking into a world that you're really not an expert in, right? You're an expert in scene safety, things like that. But in the world of mental health, you really need to take a step back, distance is your friend, get as much information as you can, build a really good picture, paint a really good picture of what's been going on. I'd like to do it for the last 72 hours in that person's life. And the reason I use that guide is that's the information we can use in case we have to do an involuntary commitment. I want to be able to say in the last 72 hours, these are the most recent disturbed behaviors that the individual either told me about, family members witnessed, or we were able to see while we were at the scene. That way it helps the doctors instead of saying, hey, we showed up and they were just yelling and mad.
Yeah.
That doesn't really say a whole lot.
Yeah.
So you need to take your time, gather as much information as possible. It's vitally important that you have another officer with you, not only for cover, but that's going to be your scribe, because you need to be as focused as you can without your notepad, coach, and be really paying in and focused in on that person, asking the questions that you need answered. And then your cover officer needs to be writing down the name of the doctors, the name of the medications, because you're going to forget that stuff, I promise you.
Yeah.
And what you're also doing is you're focusing in on the person and not the problem, right? The problem is usually very emotionally charged.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can block that part out and focus on the person, what that does is that gives you the ability to now focus on connection instead of correction, right? Correction means if you do this again, you're going to jail or this or that. But connection means I'm here with you. I see you and I'm listening to you and I'm here to help you. And although you may not know me or you may not trust me, I'm going to show you with my actions that you can trust me. So it's a step-by-step process. And I think what's important for your listeners to know that are in law enforcement or first responders, medics, don't rush these calls.
Yeah.
You got to take your time. You just can't walk in and be like, okay, I'm here and I care about you. Like, shut up with that. No, you don't. You don't even know me. Like, let's take a few minutes. Let's get to know each other, feel each other out. It may be a little bit more of a barrier if you're in uniform, but it can still be done. Because if you look at the documentary, when Kendra was on the bridge, Joe and I were working overtime in uniform. And the first thing she said is, y'all never help me.
Yeah.
She meant y'all as in you, the guys wearing the uniform, not you, Ernie, personally, or you, Joe. So we had to let her know who we were, and we had to find out who she was. And it's the same thing when you're responding to these calls. Now, the outcome or the disposition of these calls, it's really dependent upon the need of that person that's in crisis. Are you able to de-escalate them? Because what you want to do is use the least amount of restriction on that person's civil rights as possible, right? You're truly pulling back on constitutional policing. So what do I need? Do I need to help this person with resources, connect them to a clinician that can make an appointment for an intake, or do they meet the criteria based on danger to self, others, or mental decompensation to where they can't remain at liberty because they're a danger to themselves or others? And if so, by statute, we have to take you in involuntarily. But what that can look like is, do you want to go in handcuffs? Because I don't think you need to. I think you, with dignity and respect, as long as you're not carrying any weapons, you're good to ride with us. And we're just going to continue talking on the way there so I can make sure that the doctor, the clinicians know what all your concerns are. And you use what's called guided imagery. You're going to tell them what's going to happen before it happens. So as it unfolds, their anxiety level goes down. It's no different than somebody giving you directions on like how to get to a birthday party. And as you're following those directions, you're like, oh yeah, you said left here, right here, third house. Yep, there it is. Right. As you're paving your way through there, you're like, okay, yeah, I'm on the right track. Everything sounds exactly the way it was supposed to be. So I call it guided imagery to help reduce anxiety. And then the warm handoff to the clinician or the treatment facilities, just the part of it. You've got to follow up on the back end as much as possible. Because I know, Coach, and just like you know where the front door of a treatment facility is to take somebody. Yes. We got that. But do we know what happens beyond the front door, truly? Have we ever been in that situation? Do we know? No. And what happens at the back door? Are they just released? Like they need to know that, hey, I didn't forget about you. I'm here. What was your treatment plan and how can I help you be successful? It's difficult in smaller agencies because they just don't have the resources, but it's something that you can partner with your local mental health authority to be a part of that process.
And there you can see why. I think that got cut off a little bit. But you can see why HBO did a documentary on him. He's very knowledgeable. He's very entertaining, and he's willing to help. He wants to help, and he's helped a lot of people. They show you throughout the documentary. Make sure you check that out. Crisis Cops on HBO. Ernie Stevens. He's been a tremendous blessing on this platform. We're going to transition to Seattle, the chief of police of Redmond Police Department, where we have Chief Darrell Lowe, and he talks about his experiences and things that are going on, hiring, retention, and experiences there in Seattle. So therefore, ladies and gentlemen, we move to Chief Darrell Lowe. Let's bring him on.
I believe that is what really prepared me or kind of put me over the top for the role of chief, because in that organization, the deputy chief ran the day-to-day operations. So I had the opportunity to see the back end of police work. I knew the technical functional side, but to learn about, contracts and interlocal agreements and then all those types of things, the back end of the house, that was where I cut my teeth in that particular, promoted to captain, and then was given the opportunity to come lead the Redmond Police Department, 4 years ago.
You're the current chief of police of Redmond Police Department. What are some of your responsibilities as top dog chief of police there?
So it's keeping my community safe, taking care of the women and men that work for me, both as commissioned police officers and support staff, crafting the mission and vision for the department. But it's also being part of, a city team, right? So we're one of 9 departments within the city. I'm there with the other directors, and we help, run the city in all aspects. Obviously, my side of it is the law enforcement side of public safety. My partner on the fire side of the house, we take care of the safety piece, but then obviously there's public works, all that, accessible to the community is to create that vision and lead the department. We do have females both in our executive command ranks. We have supervisors. But we are a medium-sized department. I'm authorized 88 commissioned police officers. I currently have 79 officers, and I've run about that same 10% vacancy rate for the time that I've been here. But through some very deliberative recruitment efforts on our part, we've actually hired 21 people year to date between commissioned officers and support staff. But my attrition rate every year is 6 to 7 people. So even though I've hired a sufficient number, I still lost, 6, individuals. It's an ebb and flow, type of process. And then the other part is just having a department that is desirable for people to come to because they are supported. We have tremendous community support. Then our demographics from a city perspective is not your, I'll say your typical white, black, Hispanic. We have a lot of Southeast Asian population, a lot of Indian population. And so our diversity would be different than others to truly reflect our community. And the challenge from a recruitment perspective there is for some of these other cultures, law enforcement is not a desired profession. And again, we are in the tech area, both between, like I said, the tech companies that exist, but we also have a tremendous space industry here. So we have a lot of very highly technical, highly specialized employment, and those are the jobs that some of the cultures and demographics that we have here in Redmond, they tend to gravitate towards, and that is more valued in their culture. So you're fighting against something that's hardwired, deeply embedded, cultural, and money and those types of things, especially from the public sector, cannot compete against that. Some of these things are disgusting. But what's going on in our community? Because we can wring our hands and disgust about things happening across the country, but that's not happening here. So we have to deal with our narrative, and not that we can't learn from those things and put the things and systems in place to ensure that we don't have similar occurrences or similar outcomes. But don't I can't think of the word I'm looking for. Don't demonize, me and my department because of something that occurred, halfway across the country.
I forgot I was muted. Sorry about that. I'm back. That was Chief Darrell Lowe, Redmond Police Department. That video got cut off too, halfway across the country. You know what the rest of the video was going to say. Thank you guys for checking that out. He was, make sure you check his department out. Make sure you check out, he's on LinkedIn. If you're interested in occupation, when law enforcement with his department is hiring. So check him out and ask him whatever questions that you need. All right. We're going to transition on to another Sergeant Be Safe cartoon. I hope you guys enjoyed. It is ready and available for the holiday season. And like I said earlier, make sure that you tag, listen, and subscribe to Sergeant Be Safe's YouTube channel because he has more cartoon videos and tips there. So here's this one. Stand by.
Thanksgiving should be a safe and happy holiday. It's a time where most friends and family can get together. It's also a holiday where most crimes involving alcohol take place.
Sergeant Be Safe is absolutely right. I'm just gonna stay here and get big.
Hello, Mario. What's going on? Captain Chaos and I will be right there.
Yeah, I'm loving this. I need another one, Mario.
Oh my goodness.
Welp, I'm out of here.
Sergeant Sefa, I need your help now. This is the worst holiday ever.
Come on, Rob, you blind. We'll take my car.
You're swerving all over the roadway, fool. Look out!
Ooh.
Run, you fool!
I'm so dizzy. I can't run straight.
I was working out today. I'm up for a good chase.
You guys won't get away. Stop before things get worse.
You can't catch me.
Gotcha. Put him up.
Disorderly conduct, public drunkenness, and DUI. You guys just ruined your holiday. While you're sitting in jail, you guys can figure out how you're going to pay for the damages. Remember, folks, you can always get a designated driver, ride sharing, public transportation, or even carpool so you can have a safe holiday. And that's your tip of the day to get you on your way.
There it is. Sergeant Be Safe. Another holiday video for you. We're going to move on to this guy. This is our next guest, our next clip. He's tearing up the airways right now with trainings. His book is dynamic. Again, it's available on Amazon. He was on the show not too long ago. The Holy Trinity of Successful and Healthy Police Organizations, Improving Leadership, Culture, and Wellness by Chad Bruckner. You know, here it is. I know there's probably a glare on here. Make sure you guys get a copy of this. I say that about all the books, but all the books are important. This one in particular is important as well. And here's the highlight. It's very electrifying. He's very exciting. He's very fun to interview as well. And he gives a lot of good tips that we all need to be aware of. Here's his interview now. I'm going to bring him to the stage.
Profession will die if we don't embrace mental health and emotional health. It will die. It will not survive. The reason is, I spoke today to a panel event in Philadelphia about harm reduction, and we continually are not understanding what the situation we're in. And if we don't understand the situation we're in, it makes sense that we can't understand the solutions that to get to where we get to. Right. It's an unsustainable track with mental health. And I'm glad you brought this up, that there's nothing wrong with us to have mental health. I remember sitting in the academy as a combat veteran, 26 years old, 27 years old, and listening to other people's stories and thinking, I've been there, I've done that, I know. It was wrong. I was incorrect. It was ego. It was being naive. It was being scared, being fearful, wanting to be tough, wanting to be strong in the eyes of other people around me. And you know, that's just it's an unsustainable track, I think, brother. If we start to acknowledge that this job changes us, I want to stay in the fight. I'm going to go to. I have 4 therapists, 4. And it's okay, man. They all do different things for me, and I love them. And they all help me, and they keep me in the fight. They keep me moving, and I'm doing big and bold things. So there's nothing wrong with that. I think in the profession, we are doing ourselves a huge disservice, by not embracing mental health, by making it look like it's a weakness, by making it look like there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
In 2019, brother, I was laying in my foyer with a bottle in my hand and my boxers. My 3 or 4 year old son was staring at me. My wife's behind me, spooning me, rubbing my chest. If you would have looked at that, you would have said, man, this is not a good situation. It's not a good guy. I don't know what happened, but man, this is not good. Then earlier this year, if you would have seen me or last year, you see me in Hershey presenting at a conference and people were, cheering and clapping, you would have said, oh, that guy, he's really crushing it. He's living life. He's really doing good. That's the same person. It was the same person. And we have to get better at understanding that just because we're down today doesn't mean we can't come back up. It's a leader assessment survey, the LAS, and I came up with this writing the book. I was trying to find a way to help stakeholders, elected officials, to evaluate and screen. I have some knowledge being a private investigator, owning a firm that we do a lot of background investigations, and I've seen the politicization of a chief selection process. I've experienced it. I've seen it now on the back end of it. I have information, a little bit more information plugged into it, and it is a political process, and you have to be connected. You have to know somebody, but that really shouldn't be that way. And I understand it is, and we're talking about bigger stuff, but this leader assessment survey it takes the autonomy out of it. It takes these special interest groups, whether it's a chief panel or anybody else that has a vetted interest in this, which we will hope is objective and not subjective, but it takes that out of it. It's a list of 10 parameters. You pick whatever 10 you want for your community that are the 10 most important things that you want. Maybe you want your chief to be, or your sergeant, anybody to be, job knowledge to be important. Maybe you want them to be empathetic, an active listener, whatever those feedback are, those SWAT operator, put those on your 10. It really focus on the 10 criteria you're going to pick because it's the most important thing. Right. What you want, you write on that box. And then you score each applicant as they come through this process. Use the matrix below and you find out where they fit on this. What I think leaders are going to say, elected officials are going to realize is we have been selecting the wrong executives. We have been selecting based on older metrics of SWAT commanders and who leads the agencies in arrest and all these things, which, by the way, I did in my agency. Just because that didn't mean that I was ready to be the next leader or next chief. Right. And that's the problem. We love to present to the community, hey, we have a SWAT commander as our next chief, or we have this as our next chief, or we got this person from another agency who set a record for DUI arrests. Those are great, and those are awesome resume bullet and builders, but that has no bearing on how they're going to lead their officers. Yeah. Leadership is influence. It's tapping you on the shoulder, Clee, I need you to do this, brother, and it's going to be hard and it's going to be scary, and I'm going to lead the way, and you're going to get behind me. Can you join me? Right, that's leadership. It's not telling you what to do and then beating you over the head when you don't do it. And this survey, this tool can help elected officials understand a little bit more, take the ambiguity out, take that special interest where you need these chief panels or anybody to say, and I've talked to a city council or a town council person, and what they indicated is these chief panels, they just kind of defer to what the chief panels want. And these are chief panels that they're in the field, they know what is good or not. And I have no problem with that. But again, who was on the chief panel? We need to select, are these political people, or are these merit-based chiefs that want to get it right? These are questions we have to have. It doesn't have to be uncomfortable. It doesn't have to be attacking. It can be collaborative. We can get together as long as we want to get it right.
Make sure you guys check that out. Check him out on LinkedIn as well. That interview was dynamic. That interview is on LinkedIn. It's on Facebook. It's on YouTube as well. Make sure you guys check that out. His book's available on Amazon. Dynamic interview. All right. We're transitioning. We talked about, we had highlighted individual with Ernie Stevens on Crisis Cops with the HBO documentary. Now we move on to Jason Harney, who actually makes the documentaries. He's done Wristlock. He has a documentary coming out later next month by the end of this year, 2023, and it's called Is There Something Going On at Home? And like I said before, when I was talking about discussing Scott Medlin's one of the featured individuals who's highlighted in that documentary as well. Jason's done other documentaries that are available on different streaming platforms. And here's just a few of his trailers. I mean, he was on here. He was dynamic to interview. Watching his documentaries were game-changing and eye-opening, and they're very well done. So here's a few trailers on that.
Defensive tactics and self-defense technique taught to law enforcement officers is derived from the martial arts.
Defensive tactics, like every other tactic, including firearms, is a perishable skill that has to be trained.
Police officers don't train and stay proficient in defensive tactics.
You're joining a profession where your job is control other human beings. It would make sense if you're good at it. Okay. This is a fight.
You got to do this 2 to 3 times a week.
year-rounds continuously to make sure that when you're in that high-pressure situation, that those are the techniques that come out.
When you train in martial arts, it allows you the opportunity to experience those things. And it's not the first time as when you're out there on the street when Lucifer has decided he's not going back to jail that day.
The bad guy controls the fight. The bad guy controls the location. The bad guy controls the level of violence, and the bad guy controls the length of the fight.
Agencies often treat training as almost like a vaccine, right? One shot in the arm and you're done.
That we care enough about our officers that we're going to devote time and money and effort into training so that our people come home every night.
It's a weekly, daily, and monthly challenge of what we're going to juggle, how to get the bills paid, how to even put food on the table. We have 3 boys.
Craig was injured in a shooting. He didn't die that day, and you couldn't see his injuries, but he died from those injuries. So my motto since the beginning is not one more, but no one should die from PTSD.
What good is it to teach us how to survive on these streets and we get home and everything falls to crap and we don't know what's happening to us and we don't know what to do about it? Our families are falling, our families are struggling, my kids are crying because nobody told me that I'm supposed to be still fighting here.
There are times when, for no reason, I'll just start crying. Or I'll get into a rage. For no reason. There are times when I wake up at night screaming, and I can smell gunpowder, I can smell blood.
I felt like as long as I could come back to work, I was useful to the department. They could use me. The minute I couldn't, even though it was work-related, throw them away.
They've given everything they can up to the edge of their life. And what they do have left of a life is compromised because of what they've given.
This is taking place all over America. This is a national tragedy. This is something that is not known within the American public. It is not even known oftentimes within law enforcement circles itself.
Well, guess what? I am you. And I have post-traumatic stress disorder.
Some detectives may never see a case like this. It was the most incredible thing I'd ever experienced.
I've never seen a case like this before, and I'm sure I'll never see a case like this again in my career.
The fact of the matter is, most property crime offenders, most burglars are serious criminals.
The impact that they were making in the community in a negative way put them in what we like to refer to as the upper 10 percentile of criminals, the ones that just were not going to stop.
I had never seen such a prolific burglar.
He affected hundreds of people's lives over his career, if not more.
When they're confronted, you know, the whole object is to get away. And if that means shooting it out with the police, shooting it out with the neighbor, shooting it out with whoever, the security officer, then that's what they're going to do.
If you take an individual that is a multiple convicted felon and you back him in a corner where he thinks if I get caught, I'm going to spend the rest of my life in prison, there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that that person will do whatever they have to do to get out of that situation.
So this guy did it to get a high. He did it because it was his lifestyle. He's a pirate.
Yeah, exactly. Make sure you guys check that out. Not just those are 3 of the many documentaries that Jason Harney has out. Again, Wrist Lock, Repeat Offender, The Wounded Blue, and what's coming out the end of December 2023 is There Something Going On at Home, along with many other documentaries that he has going on. Tremendous supporter of the show and has great documentaries out there. So let's check him out. Continue to support him and see how he brings to light the things that we don't often see, things that are going on in the background. So many different eye-opening experiences. Thank you to him. Going to transition to the future. I don't normally do this, but I'm going to do this for this segment, just for you guys for tuning in for this holiday segment, the Thankful Holiday Highlights podcast. I'm going to show the upcoming guest is, I believe, next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have Adrienne Goodwin. She did her children's book, Twins in the City. Let's learn about police officers, where she's a New York police detective, and she wrote a children's book. And I got the chance to read that on American Literacy Corporation. If you ever have a children's book that you want to read, I highly suggest that them. They're on Facebook. You can schedule a time to read a book to children online, and it's a great platform with Madison Stokes, Floyd Stokes. Tremendous shout out to them. They've had this platform going on for a long time, and we continue to want to support them. But here's a quick brief highlight of that reading, and then we'll discuss that further during the interview that we have with Adrienne next week.
Reading 365. Thank you so much for joining us today on this magnificent Monday morning. I'm your host here, Madison Stokes, and super excited because we have an awesome guest today. We have Clee Tillman with us. So, Mr. Clee, how you doing this morning?
I'm wonderful. Thank you. And thank you for having me on this platform again.
Awesome. Well, glad to have you back. I know you have a very interesting and awesome book to share with us, so excited to hear that. And there's a fun fact here that we'll share about his book. It was written by a New York City police detective and actually going to be a guest on his show in a few weeks. So definitely we're going to talk about that. But thank you so much again, Mr. Clee, for joining us, and I'll turn it over to you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, all. Thank you guys for tuning in again. My name is Clee Tillman. I'm going to be reading a children's book called Twins in the City. Let's learn about police officers. And this book was written by Adrienne Goodwin and Christopher Goodwin and illustrated by Bria DeBosi. I hope I said that correctly. It's a children's book that she wrote. Let's jump into it. All right. Twins in the City. Let's learn about police officers. Twins Madison and Mia were excited to spend the day in the city with their parents. The city was busy. It was full of taxis, buses, people, and buildings that stretched to the sky. Soon after they arrived, the twins spotted a police officer on a horse. I wonder how police officers keep everyone safe in such a big city, Madison said. Mia, do you know what kinds of things police officers do? Well, I know they help people during emergencies, and they also keep us safe by doing things like crowd control and directing traffic, said Mia. Oh, and last week I saw a police officer talking to a business owner, said Madison. Wow, there's so many things police officers do in the community, Mia said. I wonder how they get to know everyone. Girls, have you noticed that there are police officers who look just like you and me? Mom asked. They represent different cultures from around the world and interact with people daily while on the job in the community. You're right, Mom. I can see police officers who look just like you and me. She's brown-skinned with curly hair and has dark eyes, said Madison.
Wanting to maybe start a podcast or a business or go for that dream that they have or that aspiration, maybe what are some, practicals or encouragement for them to just continue on and go for it?
So stagnant water attracts mosquitoes. You got to move forward. You got to just jump in and do it. You got to take that leap. And it's more than likely not going to be perfect because even if you try something new, you're not going to be a genius right off the top. You're not going to be, you could be, but more than likely you're going to have to put in that work, put in those things. But the hardest part is getting started. Once you get started, it's kind of like a rocket ship taking off. It burns a lot of fuel taking off, but eventually it will get off the ground. And once it gets off the ground, it burns less fuel, but it's flying higher at a faster pace until it finally reaches its mark. So therefore, you're going to burn up a lot of energy. You're going to burn up a lot of resources in the takeoff. but the takeoff is important because once you get off the ground, it's smooth sailing.
Wow. That sounds like a new intro to a book. I'm going to wait for that.
Absolutely. Twins in the City, Let's Learn About Police Officers is available on Amazon. Make sure you check out the upcoming podcast this Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Police Detective Adrian Goodwin. I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be the next live that we have. We had tremendous guests, tremendous clips on this highlight showcase. Let me go through them. We had Ben Gaynor as the voice of Captain Chaos. We had Eric McCants. We had Sergeant Steve Sweeting. We had Scott Medlin. We had Randy Snyder. We had Dr. Travis Yates. We had Ernie Stevens. We had Chief Darrell Lowe. We had Chad Bruckner. We had Jason Harney, his trailers. We had Madison Stokes with highlighting the book that we just saw from Adrian Goodwin. And we're going to continue on. This train is moving forward. I want you guys to all be safe during this holiday season. Thank you guys for tuning in. This is Black and Blue. This is the podcast that airs at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time weekly. When we go live with first responders and law enforcement officials, whether we talk about their trainings, experiences, and their publications, no matter if they're rookies, seasoned, or retirees, and we have a lot of fun doing it. So if you want to be on the show, workweekly.com. That's how you get a hold of me. Let me know that you want to be on the show. We'll make that thing happen. If you're entertained, if you just want to see the highlights on the training experiences and publications, this is your platform to do so. And I appreciate you all checking out the show. I love you all. I want you to all be safe and have a wonderful time. I'm Coach Clee, your motivational speaker, your empowerment coach, your author, and your favorite baker saying 10-4 over and out. And Sergeant Be Safe is going to take us out. Have a good one.
Oh, thank goodness you're here. I heard a loud noise and I thought someone was breaking in.
Don't worry, Jeanette. I'll take a look around. I'll make sure everything's secure. Aha, I found your problem. It's your smoke detectors. They need batteries. It's definitely not your burglar alarm.
Oh, silly me. I guess I got a little too alarmed. Thank you, officer.
I'm glad I could help, but you need to make sure you get some batteries immediately and take care of that before it becomes a bigger problem. Abby, it sounds like you're having a little bit of trouble with your car battery.
Yes, officer, it's dead. I think I need a new one.
I see the problem. Nothing's wrong with your battery. Just turns out that you're actually out of gas.
Oh no, how did I not realize that? Thank you for saving me the expense of a new battery, officer.
Well, I'm glad to find out that you're only out of gas and don't need a new battery. Looks like there's a gas station right around the corner. Let's see if they'll accommodate you so you can get on your way. Good morning, ma'am. Hey, Mario, how's it going? I'll take my usual cup of coffee.
Officer, it's on me today. Let me buy you a cup as a token of appreciation for keeping us safe.
Well, thank you, ma'am. That's very nice of you. I appreciate it. I'll kindly accept your offer. You know, Captain, it's getting colder out here, and the holidays are quickly approaching us.
Yeah, it's that time of year, my friend. You know, the time we start responding to weird calls.
They say it's cuffing season, baby. You ain't good enough.
True. I almost forgot, Captain Chaos. You're absolutely right. Cuffing season is now upon us. You guys be safe out there. That's coming from me, Sergeant Be Safe. And that's your tip of the day to get you on your way.